Hi everyone, and welcome to week 9. We are getting closer and closer to the end of the semester. Just hang with me. We're almost there and you guys are doing awesome. Let's go ahead and take a look at the syllabus for today, or this week rather. Hopefully by now you've read pages 172 to 189. If you haven't, go ahead and do that before you watch the rest of this video because we will be talking about those pages. So again, we're reading 172 to 179 or 189 and St. Martin's Guide. After you have read that and watched this video, you will then go to the week 9 folder, and you should have already submitted your concept paper to the Turnitin on Blackboard. So that should be completed by now. Remember, that's in week 8. So now we're in week 9 folder. And remember, I numbered everything for you. So all you have to do is go number 1 all the way down to number 4. And just complete all of the assignments. Please read the directions. There will be a discussion board post at the end in which you will have to list your topic ideas for your Finding Common Ground paper. Remember that I have provided in the week 9 folder some links and databases for you to look at for ideas on what to pick for this paper. So let's go ahead and go to our PowerPoint. Okay, so if you would follow along, we are on page 172, 173 of St. Martin's Guide. A Finding Common Ground essay or paper is basically where you analyze opposing arguments to identify potential areas of agreement based on shared concerns and values, as well as overlapping interests and priorities. So to break that down, basically you're going to pick one issue that can be argued as far as one source is in agreement of this issue. They are a proponent. They are for the issue. They say, yes, I believe in this and I am strong in my decision. And then you will look for a second source who disagrees and says, no, I do not agree with this. This is not right. So you're going to pick two different sources who disagree on the same issue, and then you're going to find a resolution. So what is one thing that these two sources agree on? You are going to have to try and be unbiased, and that means that you want to be fair and balanced. You don't want to present one side more than the other side. You want to give them both equal representation. And as a writer, you will want to try and understand why others disagree and ways that they might agree on an issue. And again, you're searching for a resolution. So what is something that they either already agree on, or what is something they might agree on in the future if they're willing to make a change to what they think? So what you can look for is a critical wedge issue, and that's basically an issue that is responsible for tearing the two sides apart. So if I am discussing school uniforms, maybe the critical wedge, it just comes down to money. So maybe money is the reason that some people are for the uniforms and some people are against it. Maybe a critical wedge issue is fashion. Maybe some people say, no, I want my kids to be able to wear what they want and express themselves, while opponents argue and say, fashion doesn't matter for kids. So you're going to look for a reason that both sides are not agreeing. You also will want to provide historical context of the issue, and that's on page 176. So let's go there. They give a good example here. It's highlighted in blue. It says, the age of innocence in baseball seems to have ended in the 1990s when the steroid era began, and players from Mark McGwire to Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, and Alex Rodriguez were identified as using performance-enhancing drugs. In 2006, the concern was so great that George Mitchell, the former Senate Majority Leader and peace negotiator, and so on. So this is relevant for you to understand because they are providing background information on what the main issue is that they're talking about. What is the critical wedge? What is the reason for disagreement? The disagreement is because there are more performance enhancers now than there were in the past. There's a bigger concern for it. So they're going to compare the two different sides who say, yes, it's a problem, and no, it's not. So they're giving a little bit of background for the reader to understand what it is they're talking about. When you're doing your research, you'll want to look for paragraphs or passages where the opposing arguments are presented. So we have read a few examples in our book so far that kind of spell it out for you. In other words, they might say, one side says this, however, the other side disagrees and instead says this. Or a proponent argues this way and an opponent says this. So you'll want to look for areas where they're disagreeing. You also want to be fair. This is like I said earlier, you want to present both sides equally. We should not know if I'm reading this paper or your friend is reading your paper. We should not be able to tell if you agree or you disagree about the issue that you're talking about. So you want to give each side the same amount of representation. Try not to let your opinion show. It might be easy to say, oh, I totally agree with this, and so I'm going to say this person is right, and I think this. But remember, this is kind of like your concept paper. Let your research be the one that tells the facts and tells why they agree or don't agree. You want to, on page 177, use quotations to present criticism. They give an example that says the minority of players who used performance-enhancing substances were wrong. The reason they put this in quotations is because if the writer said, well, the minority players use enhancements and they were wrong, it sounds like it's the writer's opinion that they were wrong instead of the person who actually wrote the article or who did the research. So be careful about that. Your organization, you have a couple of options this time. Like the profile and concept paper, you want it to be organized in a clear and logical way. You can do this, one, by having all of the opponents of the issue together in a couple of paragraphs, and then you move on and you talk about all the people, the proponents, the people who are for the issue. Another way you can organize your paper would be the second bullet point, where it's more like a debate. So you might give some background information, and then you start with one side who argues for the issue, and then you move on to your other source or side who argues against the issue. And you kind of go back and forth, argues for, against, for, against. You can also organize by topic or reasons why both sides agree or disagree. This would be more like your concept paper organization. So you've got maybe 3 or 4 main points why they agree or disagree. So point 1, they agree and disagree because of this. Point 2, they agree and disagree because of X and Y. So you would structure it more based off of reasons or points why they agree or disagree. Let's briefly go to the article in here, Lost Innocence, on page 179. Please make sure you have read this example as well as the other example on page 183. This one is good because it gives you the background information in the introduction. And then in paragraph 2, it tells us instantly a credible source. It tells us the reasons why they disagree. And then in paragraph 3, it forecasts, or it gives us kind of a thesis of, okay, these are my main points that we're going to talk about, why they agree and disagree. One thing that is really interesting about paragraph 3 is the way they set up their disagreement. They say an opposing position has been presented by respected baseball authority Eric Walker on his website, Steroids, Other Drugs in Baseball. So that's something to consider when you're moving from an argument. You'll want to think about those kind of phrases. An opposing side, a source who disagrees says this, those kind of things to use as transitions. I am going to let you finish reading that article so we can discuss it further on Monday. And I hope you all have a good week. Please make sure that you look at the databases. And if you need one more place to look for your ideas of what to pick for finding common ground, please go to the library webpage, go to databases, opposing viewpoints, and you'll have to log in. But this site is good because it tells you issues that people agree and disagree on, and sometimes it even gives you the resolution in the article. So this is what it looks like, and I'll just type in something. I'll do school uniforms again and viewpoints. And these are the articles where it talks about both sides who agree and disagree. So I would just click on this, and here's the article, and it even gives you some questions to think about. So this is a great place to go to look for articles or ideas for your topics. So that is it for now. I hope you have a good week, and I will see you soon.